Weekly. It is episode 41. It's another awesome, it looks like a sunny enough day on this Thursday. We're so happy to have you all with us. My name is Sam Thompson, and of course, we're joined with Joe Bladdock. Joe, how are you doing today?
Hi, everybody. Yes, my name is Joe Bladdock. Thanks, Sam. I'm doing really well. Yeah, and yeah, it's still relatively warm out there, isn't it?
Yeah, it hasn't been too cold. As somebody without air conditioning, I'm
Yeah,
enjoying that it's some cooler evenings. But yeah, definitely, I've been seeing in a couple articles that the Farmer's Almanac is predicting an early and harsh winter. So I'm enjoying the slight warmth we have now before we jump into that.
I did see that, Sam. I did see they're predicting a harsh winter. I've already been, thinking about what I'm going to do for snow shovels and salt. It's a good reminder to get all that going, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of articles, I mean, let's just jump right into it. There's a lot of news coming out this week on mortgages and housing.
Mhm.
We have our upcoming election coming for our federal election for the country.
Yes, it's coming up very quickly next was it next Wednesday, the 22nd?
The 22nd, that's
Election
right.
day is the 20th. And the advanced polls have had quite a turnout. I know that I have already voted at the advanced polls as well, but I
Yeah,
think it was like 5.8 million people have already voted at the advanced polls. So it's good to
that's
see
right.
that we're getting a good turnout.
You bet. And that is an increase from last year, I heard.
Mhm.
So that is also good to see that people are getting out. Hopefully there's more voter turnout this year. So everyone can get on board and have a say in this year's election.
Mhm.
And with that election, if any of you are interested in what the parties have for their housing platform, which is very important right now in our economy,
Mhm.
Sam and I did a episode of Canadian Mortgage Weekly a few weeks ago about all the election party platforms and their housing policy.
Mhm.
Now, today, I did see that the PPC has released a housing policy for the election, Sam, and I know that when we did our episode, they didn't have anything specific at that time.
Yes, yeah. At the time that we had done it, there wasn't anything to report from the PPC, but they have since launched their platform, which really seems to focus on, trying to cool the market and, an attempt to lower those house prices from a couple different ways.
Yeah, it really is. And those few different ways here, one of them are by reducing immigration. I know that the current target is around 400,000, and
Mhm.
the idea is to decrease it to about 100,000. It'd be good to check the PPC website for that, for the exact numbers, and also to privatize CMHC. That's the mortgage insurer in Canada
Mhm.
that provides mortgage insurance along with Sagan and Canada Guarantee.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the last thing, and obviously you would want to check with the website and our previous video with the other election platforms just to see where you stand on all this. But the other item that the PPC would like to do is to privatize social housing. So I'm not sure how that will resound with all of you viewers, but it's something that we wanted to get out there. And just if you're looking to vote, make sure you do your research and pick the party that's best for you, and make sure that you do have a voice.
Absolutely. It's really important to make sure that you're voting. It's a a very good right that we get to have, that we get to vote. And again, being informed, especially with where housing is at, a lot of first time home buyers, feel like they're stuck out of the system. And it's just a big
Yeah,
topic, after this pandemic and where we've seen the market going. Yeah, so definitely watch our previous video to just see, what party you sort of relate to or ones that you want to support.
you bet. And moving on to rates as well, because rates have been in the news like crazy these last few
Mhm.
weeks. I'm sure everyone with the federal election coming up is perhaps maybe holding back on making any decisions until the election goes through, and seeing where rates head to on that. But there's a lot of articles stating now that hinting at rising rates,
Mhm.
which I know, Sam, you and I have talked about this a few times now, that the economists and the gurus out there are anticipating mid 2022 for a rise in rates. But these articles coming out are talking about how that rise in rates could be a big threat to housing and investors out there as well.
Mhm.
However, it's really important to note that in Canada, the government did years ago implement a stress test. And
That's right.
with that, Sam, I think that a lot of Canadians have already been protected against a rate increase of 1 or 2%.
Exactly, and that's, you know, a positive spin
Yeah.
on the stress test. I know a lot of people look at it negatively, especially, you know, if they weren't able to afford before the increase in the stress test. But it really does help, you know, when we're seeing house prices where they are. If we do see, you know, the rates rising, there is that level of protection for, you know, any Canadians because they're being stress tested at that higher rate.
Exactly. So when I see news articles like this, Sam, I look at them and I see, you know what, it could be an issue that rates rise, but as Canadians, we've already been protected against that.
Mhm.
Um, and we've already been qualified for that higher rate. So I think we'll be okay
Mhm.
since we have these safeguards in place.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yes, so that's about all that's happening on news. As we go through our episode today, just a reminder that today's episode 40, a big celebration for Canadian Mortgage Weekly. 40 episodes in this year. If you're a big fan, share this video, like the video, or comment below. Let us know what topics you'd want to chat or for us to chat about on our videos. We'd love to hear questions from all of you. But yes, today we're talking about a really interesting topic, Sam. It's all about home inspections.
It is all about home inspections. This is something, you know, we've been reviewing a lot of home inspections recently, you know, whether they're for homes out west or homes here in Ontario, or sorry, out east. But, you know, we've seen a lot of, you know, a lot of sort of conditions that we've been noticing that the lenders are relatively not necessarily strict on, but they do a very thorough process when it comes to certain aspects of your home inspection. So we really wanted to dive in this morning and share with you guys, anybody who's looking to purchase a home, some things to look for and things to be aware of when, you know, you get your inspection report back, you're reading through all, you know, 50 pages of it, some things to highlight and some things to note as you're going through it.
You bet, Sam. Yeah, it's going to be a really good thing. So keep tuned in here as Sam will open up the presentation and we'll go through these items together because as you're making offers in this market, it's really important to know what can affect your financing and exactly how the lenders are looking at all the files these days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds good. So let's just hop into the presentation and we can get started on making sure everybody's educated and informed on, you know, can a home inspection kill your financing, and some ways to avoid, you know, or things to look out for. So as we've been chatting, a basic home inspection is quite a normal part of the home buying process on a lot of purchases, you know, whether you have it conditional or not. Many of the purchases that we go through have one, and they can typically run about $300. Wouldn't you say, Joe, for a, you know, an average home inspection?
Yes, they typically run around $300. They can cost more if you want additional services, though. Maybe you'd want the home inspector to do a thermal imaging camera reading. I mean, that can typically run an extra $100. Maybe you'd want the home inspector also to inspect the sewer lines or the septic system, and those are typically separate additional services. But yeah, about $300 plus taxes, you can get a home inspection done. And from that, the home inspector does do a full review of the property on site and then offers a report to be sent to you after, which is usually, you know, 30 to 40 pages long. It's pretty detailed usually.
They are quite extensive, and there is a lot of factors that the lender is going to be looking at. You know, if they request it
Yes.
as part of their conditions to see that inspection report. So what we'll do here is cover off, you know, some situations that would cause the lender to want to see that report, some red flags to look out for, and things that, have the potential to kill the deal. And then just some stuff to be aware of during the whole home buying process in regards to a home inspection. So starting off, what can trigger a home inspection? What could happen that we'll see the lender come back to us and say, we want to see that inspection report. So there is a few cases. Typically, if your home offer is conditional on a home inspection, the chances are relatively high that the lender is going to want to see a copy of that inspection report, just so that they know, what they're getting into, as much as what you're getting into.
Yeah, definitely. Especially like you're saying, Sam, if it's in the conditions on the offer, because the lender does read through the offer in detail to make sure that there's nothing in there that could be sort of a red flag. So when they do see that the home inspection is a condition, they know that you as the client are obtaining a home inspection, and they would like to review it just like you would as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one of these things that we're seeing this condition land on is that when we see our clients purchase homes, not particularly the median or higher priced homes, but it's usually the lower price point that is seeing these inspections. And, Sam, I don't know about you, but if the house is priced a lot lower, say 100 or 150,000, that's much lower than the average home price in Canada. So the lenders like to just review that to see if there's any outstanding issues on the home that has been, maybe there's something there because it's priced so low, and they just want to make sure they cover all their bases, just like you are with that home inspection.
Absolutely. It's a safeguard for the lender.
Yes.
And again, I think when we had been reviewing prices across Canada, I think most recently the average home price is close to 600,000 across Canada. So again, anything lower than 200,000 that, at least we've seen, likely they're going to ask for that. Again, it's just to double check that it's not priced at that point for a reason. And there's no major issues that could, make it uninsurable or not a favorable property for the lender.
Absolutely. Yeah, good points.
So when we're going through the inspection report, there is going to be a number of things they'll cover off, and, things that they're going to be looking at the property. So let's go into what are specific points that have the potential to kill your deal. So a major one, and probably, one of the larger issues, is if there's any problems with the roof. We have seen this, in some of the inspection reports we've gotten back where, there's missing or damaged shingles, the flashing is not done properly. If there's a poor repair, sometimes we'll see, where there was a leak and there's a weekend handyman special tried to fix it himself and it really didn't work that well. Or even on the interior, if there's any truss or joint damage with the roof, all of those things have the potential, to really kill your deal, and that the lender is, not going to like seeing that on the report.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, those tend to be very major issues. Also, looking at the underside of the home, I mean, you're talking about the top. Let's talk about the bottom. If there's any foundation cracks that the home inspector makes note of, they're probably also going to make note about how wide that crack is, how long the crack is, and the lender is going to see all that as well, and make a decision based on that. What are we going to do with the financing? And if you're looking to get the best rate, then keep that in mind. Also, water intrusion with foundation cracks. Sometimes there can be water intrusion coming in through the foundation, perhaps through the floor, or maybe even through a window. And the home inspector is going to find all that out, and something that's good for you to see. But remember, the lender is going to see that as well.
Yeah, and there is also, a number of major repairs that, again, these aren't all guaranteed to kill your deal, but they could have a high likelihood. And that could be, some lenders could have an issue if there is old wiring, if you know it's knob and tube or aluminum wiring, or even outdated electrical panels.
Yeah.
That can be an issue for some lenders, and it can be an issue in even getting the property insured.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen that happen before. Some customers, we can get the financing for them. However, they have a harder time getting the insurance sometimes than the financing.
Mhm.
Something that can also affect that is buried oil tanks on your home's property. That could be an environmental issue long term down the road. And it's something that usually is, really looked on with a keen eye, just to make sure that everything is done correctly if there is any buried oil tanks on the property. And
Mhm.
speaking about buried items, there's also septic tanks that we can find sometimes buried on the property as well. These will all be inspected, and if the lender is reviewing that, septic systems are of large investment. So if there's a poor condition septic system, and the client has great credit and great income, but the property itself may need a new septic system in the future, that is always an issue, and the lender will make sure that they take that into consideration as well.
Yeah, and again, as we were saying, it's also not even necessarily just the lender's decision or an effect on the lender, but also if you are getting an insured mortgage,
Yes.
it could be an issue with the mortgage insurer, whether, like we were saying, it's CMHC, Canada Guarantee, or Sagan. Whatever it is, any of those major issues could affect the lender's ability to approve the mortgage and give you that financing.
Yeah, these are good points here. So if you have a home inspection that you've done and you have any of these issues come up on the home inspection, it's good to review these for
Mhm.
yourself, obviously, but also talk to your mortgage broker lender about these if they request to see the home inspection, to make sure that they know that you have a plan to address these items.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. So being aware is a huge key for your home inspection to not kill your financing. It's important to have one done, regardless of if you're going to make it conditional or not. It's an important part of the process to actually see, what's wrong with the home, if there is anything wrong, and some potential issues that can arise. So again, being aware isn't also just relying on, reviewing the report, but also at the times that you're doing a walkthrough, look at some of the issues that we had just highlighted. If you're seeing any major issues with the roof, um, anything that is cause for concern for you, don't just kind of sweep it under and keep looking at the house. It's important to even just make a mental note of, anything that you think could have a future issue.
Exactly. Yeah, those are all good points here. You want to make sure that the lender knows that you have a plan for these future issues. That's extremely, extremely important, because without a plan, it can make everyone just feel a little bit nervous. Uh,
Mhm.
Big problems like that do cost a lot to fix, and just knowing that you have the savings available to cover off any items, that's going to make the lender feel a lot more safe about what's happening, and that you're going to be able to cover off any issues as well. um,
Mhm.
but yeah, as you're walking through the house, make sure you take note of that. Maybe bring a family member that is in construction, or just a simple Google search, right? Sam, that can help us
That's
out
right.
too, right? What to look for in a home inspection. So maybe you can yourself do some due diligence as well, just as you're walking through the home.
Mhm. Yeah, and definitely preparing yourself with a home inspector is a great contact to have. And again, it's what we recommend as part of your home buying team, that you have reached out to a home inspector. We can also always refer you to a few different options in your area where you're purchasing. Maybe some that we've worked with in the past, or just even from your realtor. Usually there's a few referrals that you can get for a home inspector.
Mhm. And there's also lenders too that differ on whether or not they ask for home inspections. and lenders that ask for it at certain thresholds. So it's good to know that you're dealing with a mortgage professional that knows what different lenders ask for and how to work with the lenders that will be more favorable on, say, knob and tube wiring, or more favorable on oil tanks, because there are lenders that really care about those items, and it's written in their policy that they can't really do anything about it. And there are lenders where it's not even mentioned that is an issue in their policy. So make sure you are dealing with someone that is knowledgeable in that policy, and that they can direct you to the appropriate lender for your mortgage.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And you can also schedule your home inspection for personal use and not make it conditional. That also is a great way to, sidestep the likelihood of the lender asking for the report if it's not in the conditions, but you do order one anyways. Again, just so that you as a purchaser personally know, exactly what you're getting into, and have an in-depth report done up for the property you're looking at.
Yeah, that's a good point too, Sam. Yeah, it's a good way to do that. That way, it's just for personal use.
So just in review, some of the key takeaways that we want to touch on is just the fact that home inspections are important to making sure, that you have an informed decision. You don't want to go in completely blind without one, whether it's conditional on one or not. It is really just part of making an informed decision. And that's what we're here for, as your mortgage advisor, mortgage agent, or broker. Is we want to make sure that it's a stress-free process for you. So, by getting this done, it can really help you, de-stress a bit, or at least know what to expect, so that, a few days before closing, we don't find out that there's this huge crack in the foundation that no one caught before. But by getting, knowledgeable about that, it can really help smooth the process out.
Yeah, exactly, Sam. Knowing about these major issues up ahead of time can also help you budget it out. And, maybe you want to walk away from the whole home as well and look elsewhere and save some time going through the whole process now that maybe you found some major issues. Because sometimes, if there is a major issue and you don't really have a plan on repairing it and don't have the means of doing anything with it for the next little while, and the home is priced low, the lender may look at that and see that there's good credit, there's a good income, but there's some issues with the property. So you want to make sure that you have that all ahead of time, and just make sure you prepare yourself as much as you can so you can avoid any declines from a lender.
Absolutely. And of course, using a trusted inspector, either, referral, if you know anybody who is in the industry, or even as Joe had mentioned earlier, walking through before you even offer or purchase the home, but walking through with a family friend or family member who is, in construction or, has knowledge. These are all really important steps in ensuring that, you're prepared for your home inspection so that it does not kill your deal.
Yeah, you bet. So with that in mind, we just like to take a moment to say, if you have any questions about any of this information, do give us a call. You can reach our office at 705-238-3479 or email us at that email below. We would like to make sure that we answer any of your home inspection questions as well as your financing questions. And if we can't answer your home inspection question, we'll definitely refer you to a home inspector that is well reviewed in the area, and make sure that you get set up there. And if you have a real estate agent, a lot of real estate agents do have a home inspector on speed dial. You can also ask your realtor for that information. Yeah. But speaking of information, Sam, you've been a mortgage professional now for about 1.5 years. Glad to have you on the show today. You originally moved from Ottawa and into the Barrie area just over 1.5 years, over 1.5 years ago now, maybe like 18, 19 months now. So you bring a lot of knowledge with you to our episode today. So thank you very much for joining us today. It's always good to have you on these episodes.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Episode 40, it's a big one.
You bet.
And if at this point you don't know who Joe is, I'll just give you a quick introduction. Joe is a mortgage professional who's living up in Aurelia with his family. You've got your two kids, rocking and rolling for over 10 years in the industry. So again, talking about knowledgeable in the field, Joe's definitely the guy to chat to. I'm sure you've seen many home inspections. So if you do have any, again, questions about your inspection that you've received, you're looking through the report and you want to make sure that there shouldn't be any issues with the lender, definitely reach out to us, and we can make sure that you're with a lender that is going to accept your deal, and make sure that there's no issues. But again, Joe, thanks for being on today's episode. It was awesome to have you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Sam. Same here. And as all of you are watching, we'd just like to say thanks for watching our episodes over the last 9 months now, as we've been rolling through 2021 with our Canadian mortgage episodes, all about news and topics that all of you are interested in. Next week we'll be focusing on second mortgages, and Sam and I will be launching into episode 41, just going over what second mortgages are, what they're used for, typical costs we see involved with those. So you won't want to miss that episode if you've ever looked into second mortgages before.
It's going to be a good one.
Yeah. So leave a comment below. If there's any questions, we like to take questions now. I don't know if there are any, but what we'd also like to say is that next week we'll be moving to, this is the last week of live questions as well. So if we do end up having questions going forward, we'll make sure that we open that back up. But as for this week, this is just the last week for live questions. So thank you very much for all those of you who have been asking questions live online. And we'll move now to a way of asking questions either by private message, or if you prefer, you can comment below or contact us directly. Yeah. So thank you for watching Canadian Mortgage Weekly, episode 40. And we hope you have a great day.